He said one pill would take you on a hell of a trip. They weren't wrong.
Hello, Burleson. My name is Colin Gregory, Crime Prevention and Community Engagement Specialist with the Burleson Police Department, also known as that social media guy. Today, I'm here to introduce an important series that we put together in partnership with Reach of Johnson County. Over the next few weeks, we'll be diving head first into the fentanyl crisis that's sweeping our nation, our state, and most importantly, our community. Fentanyl is a powerful and dangerous drug that has affected countless lives, and it's crucial we educate ourselves about its impact. In these episodes, you will hear real stories from individuals who have been directly affected by this crisis, including firsthand accounts from those who've struggled with addiction and the devastating consequences of fentanyl. We won't shy away from the hard truth. These conversations are raw and unfiltered because it's through the understanding of the gravity of the situation that we can begin to combat it. We'll also be speaking with experts from various fields, including healthcare professionals, first responders, law enforcement officers, to provide a comprehensive view of how fentanyl is impacting our community and what we can do to fight back. We'll be releasing these episodes weekly, so please stay tuned and join us for this crucial conversation. By educating ourselves and spreading awareness, we can make a difference and save lives. Thank you for watching and for your commitment to keeping Burleson safe. Let's get started.
All right, BTX. So my name is Colin Gregory. I'm the social media guy for the Burleson Police Department. And with me today, I have Jaden, Jaden Galbraith. She is one of the amazing people that have decided to come in. So what we'd like to do is have some raw conversations about fentanyl, and Jaden's going to share her story of how fentanyl affected her life. These conversations are raw. We're not going to pull any punches. We are going to be talking about some heavy subjects. So if you have some sensitive ears laying around, it might be good to put your headphones in and listen to this by yourself. We're going to do our best to bleep out things if they happen, but again, we're gonna make this raw and we're gonna talk the truth. So, Jaden, tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
I am 26.
Okay.
I think I struggled with addiction for 5-6 years.
Okay.
In and out of rehabs, the typical addiction things. And I had fentanyl directly affect me. And so I have a lot of passion towards this subject, and I think that it is important to get this message out there.
And you have a tie here over at the Burleson Police Department. And what's that tie in?
My little sister.
Little sister. And just
technically my little big sister.
Okay, and she does carry around a big gun. So
yeah,
I guess that's probably part of it. So you are Officer Taylor Cox's sister.
Yeah.
And she's just come on board. She's finishing up her training right now. So she's still doing all those rookie things and whatever kind of crazy initiations they have to go through. I don't know. I don't have.
Well, we hear about it.
Oh,
we hear lots.
I'm sure it's all loving and it's all
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Good times. Good times. So when you talk about fentanyl affecting you directly, you and I talked a little bit before we started this episode, and you kind of gave me a background on where you got to this point where fentanyl affected you. So let's start from the beginning. You got addicted to drugs. You got into the party scene. So let's start there and kind of get us to where it affected you.
Definitely started in high school, the typical experimenting here and there. I think I finished out my senior year pretty much on my way to having a problem and just didn't realize it. I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, had her, struggled really, really bad with postpartum depression, and I think that was a big factor in why I ended up using like I did. I didn't know that was normal. I didn't know that it was common. I didn't know to reach out for help. And so I did what I knew to do, and that was to use something to make me feel better. And so it was your typical street drugs. It started with meth and then the cocaine and some ecstasy here and there. And then one day it turned into heroin. And that was pretty much what started my absolute downfall.
So, I'm going to be done with the subject. I never got into anything along those lines when I was younger. So you just wake up one day, you walk to the street corner, and you're like, hey, for meth.
I definitely had a group of friends that were already pretty deep into the whole party scene, using drugs. So obviously being around those people, it was pretty much readily available for me, whatever I wanted, all the time. So it wasn't ever really hard to find, unfortunately. And, the more that I got into my own path of using, you start, meeting dealers and plugs and everybody else that you have to meet, and then it becomes even more readily available. And those people do not care what they're giving you. As long as you're giving them the money that they want, they're giving you whatever they have.
So it kind of started off recreational, and then you had your first child, and the postpartum depression comes in. You don't have anybody that really explains to you that that's an even a thing, and so you self-medicate.
Absolutely.
And so you get really deep back into that drug scene. What did that do with your relationships?
It absolutely damaged them. Some of them almost to the point of not being able to repair, I would say. I know my biological father was never really in my life because of the same things. He was getting high. He was in prison. And so I think specifically my relationship with my mother, that was incredibly hard for her to watch because she saw what I went through as a kid, and she saw how much I struggled and how much I hurt not having a biological father figure around. And so for her to watch me kind of do the same thing to my own child, I think there was quite a bit of anger there. But, I look at it now, and as a mother of two girls myself, I can't imagine. I can't imagine waiting up every single night wondering if you're going to get that phone call, or wondering if that's going to happen and you might not get the phone call because, your friends out there that you're using with, you overdose, they get scared and they run. They're not going to call anybody to help you. And specifically my relationship with Taylor, also very hard for her to watch me do that to my own child because she too knows how much I struggled not having a biological father figure.
Ouch.
And obviously my relationship with my daughter, I really didn't have one with her for several years. I think I saw her 2 or 3 times in the entire span of my addiction. Obviously that was never easy on me. And I think a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, well, you chose drugs over your own child. And I look at it now and I think that it was so much better for her that I wasn't around her that way. So by the time that I did get sober, she was 4 or 5. And so it was rocky trying to basically start from scratch a relationship with your own child. But I think our relationship is a lot stronger now.
So with you hit the relationship side with your daughter. Was there anybody in your life at this time? Were you dating? I'm not sure if the dating scene is a happening thing when you.
So my little girl's dad, we were together. My oldest daughter, we were together probably 4 or 5 years, I think. Really young in high school, all the way up to the point that I was just struggling so bad after I had her that I just left. Honest, and I look at it now for really no good reason. I think I was just being kind of crazy.
Right.
And then I immediately jumped into a relationship with a friend that we had for years and years and years. And I knew that he was actively using. I knew that he was completely strung out. And I knew that he was absolutely no good for me. But, I think my addict brain was already in that snowball effect and it just didn't care.
Yeah. So you've got the experimentation when you're younger. You have the first child postpartum depression, back into the drug scene. The drugs are kind of removing you from your child. You kind of get into the dating scene again. So tell me about the relationship that kind of led us to this subject, which, when Officer Cox and I were having this, she's in a video that we did, a little promotional video that we did for the One Pill Kills campaign. And immediately after that, she's like, let me tell you about my sister. And she's just, ear to ear smiles. Just so proud of who you've become, but understood your struggles.
Right.
And she's like, I need to contact her. I need to know she'll come and talk to you about this stuff. So tell me about what kind of led us to where this fentanyl part affected your life. Where were we at?
I think, I can't remember how many years it was. Several years into my own addiction. I had been in and out of rehab, gone to jail several times. And then the last time that I had gotten out of jail, I had moved in with someone that I had been friends with since I was 7 or 8 years old. And he had just been out of prison for not too long. I had an idea that he was using, obviously I was in jail, so I didn't really know, but,
right.
And so I think it was probably not even an entire month to me being out, and I was using again, and we were just, running around doing all the things that we did, doing drugs, up to no good. And he ended up passing away. And at that point, I was just a complete mess. I had lost my mind. Like, probably should have seen some psych. So I was really, really bad on heroin at this point. And I don't think that I had done fentanyl, but I knew that everybody around me had been. And so, eventually you do a certain drug for so long and it kind of, it stops working, because you build up a tolerance to it. And so the drug addict in me is looking for the next best thing. And that's what it was. And so, everybody was the little blue Percocet 30s, was smoking them off of tinfoil. And so that's what I had started doing. And I think at that point we had his funeral service, and a few weeks later I decided that I wanted to leave. So I went to California, kind of sobered up a little bit. It was a little bit of a rough 2 weeks. I was sick, obviously. Coming off of any type of opiates, you're going to be sick. And right about the time that I had started kind of feeling okay again, I get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning that the guy that I had been dating for several years had overdosed and was in the hospital. And up to that point, we obviously didn't know what it was yet. So I think the following morning, I had gotten a plane ticket booked and flew home. By the time I had made it to the airport, even, we had found out what it was. And it was a combination of, fentanyl and everything else that he had been using.
So me being a little bit dumb to this. So the little perk 30s. Yeah. So I hear that talked about here at the police station often. Tell me a little bit about that, especially for people that don't know.
To my understanding, and I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about this because I don't. I just know what I learned while I was using.
Right.
They are essentially the K2 of Percocets. It's fake. It's synthetic. It's man-made. And it's supposed to be something else, and it's not. It is pressed fentanyl.
Gotcha. So there's nobody out there. So there's no pharmacist in there, taking these fake pills, and they're measuring out the right amount of fentanyl and putting it in there. They're just lopping stuff left and right into these drugs and just hand them out.
Yes.
Selling them.
To everybody. And I don't even think it's just those specific pills. I think it's almost every pill that you find on the streets now has fentanyl in it. I would be willing to bet.
So when he, whatever combination he took, it sounds like there was enough fentanyl in that, and that's what caused his death.
Right.
How did that affect you? I mean, coming home and then you find out that he's gone.
So he did not die while I was gone. I did make it home. I think the best word that I could find for how that affected me is just purely traumatizing. And I say that because, I get a phone call that he's overdosed, and he had overdosed before. We both had several times. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. They'll give him some Narcan and everything will be cool. And then, everybody's like, no, like you really need to come home. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll get on a plane. I'll come home. His parents and his baby sister and all of his friends and everybody that had ever known him sat in that hospital for probably a week while he coded and flatlined and had seizures, and watched him fight for his life every single day. I told myself I was not going to cry, but, you have to sometimes. And I think that was finally my breaking point. I had just lost my best friend and turned around and lost someone that I had been with for years and years and years. And our relationship wasn't perfect. It wasn't. You can't be... Drugs and relationships do not go together, and especially not healthy relationships. It becomes toxic, and you start to get to where you care about drugs more than you care about your relationship. And that's just the way that it was. It ended up being really abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I think for a long time I struggled with being able to leave, but I sat there with his family and watched just the way that it affected everyone, especially his mother and his little sister. And I think that physically seeing that, I think that was why I ended up going home, because all I could see was my family and my little sisters and my daughter and all of these people that I knew loved me, that had been watching me try to fight for my own life, maybe not on the same level, but still fight for my own life. And I could not imagine putting them through that. I just couldn't. And so I think Thanksgiving had rolled around. He ended up passing away. He did get to donate his organs. So I think a little bit of good came out of what happened. But I had called my mom and I had told her, like, I absolutely need to come home. And at that point, I was still in trouble with the law. I had some warrants, and I knew that eventually I was going to have to go to jail, and that was okay, but I needed to sober up first. And so my mom let me come home, and I detoxed, and it was miserable for everyone. I was miserable to be around, but we got through it. We did. And then, I ended up going to jail, and I did my time, and I came home, and life's been great ever since.
And you've got these two adorable little girls. One, which, by the way, is running around the top floor here at the
crazy person.
She's adorable. She's stinking cute, by the way.
Thank you.
She's terrorizing our admin, which is awesome because they need a little help. You made such an amazing turn in your life. There's so many people that would just give up, and you didn't. You turned your life around. You paid your debt to society. And you made a change that I think a lot of people struggle to do. They want to do, but they just don't know how. And I'm not sure if ever saying a death is a stepping point in your life, or in everybody's or in somebody's life, but it definitely makes you put your own self in perspective.
It really does.
So when you have these conversations with somebody who may be in the situation you were in, what would be a word of advice that you would give them, or something you would share with them to help motivate them to step out before they have to face a situation like this in their life to get them to that point?
That's... It's not a hard question. It's just because there's so much passion for me behind this topic. What worked for me may not be what works for someone else, and that's okay. Sobriety is hard. It really is. And unfortunately, multiple relapses were a part of my story, and I was really blessed to make it out like I did. But it's never too late. It's It is never, ever, ever, ever too late. I do not care how bad down bad you think you are, how much of a lost cause you think you are. It is never too late. And there will be somebody willing to root for you. It might be a complete stranger, but somebody will be willing to root for you.
Very well done words. Absolutely.
I tried.
Yeah, you really did. Give me one more, and then we'll end this. Relapse. Kind of talk to me a little bit about that, because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are addicted to X, Y, or Z. I mean, from top to bottom. And they feel like they're doing so good, and they stumble and they fall, and so many of them wanted to stay down. Tell me why it's okay to stumble and fall as long as you get back up.
I think specifically for me, like the very first time that I had gone into a rehab, I was there for several months before I was like, I don't think I'm ready. And so I just took off walking and got picked up on the side of the road by some stranger and got taken back to where I used to do all of my drugs at. And I was just like, I just wasn't ready. And I knew that I wasn't ready, but my whole family wanted me to go to rehab. And so I did. And, you know, I ended up going back. I finished the program, got out, went into a transitional living, and relapsed again. Like, I was in the IOP classes, I was doing the drug tests, the UAs, the counseling, all of it, and I still relapsed. And it's okay. It sucks. It does suck, and it hurts. You know, you feel really disappointed in yourself, and it's really discouraging, and it's embarrassing, and it's borderline degrading. And I know there was several times when I did relapse that I was just like, well, this is it. This is just how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. But I finally got to a point of, I knew, even on my very worst days in my addiction, I did not want this. And I think that a lot of my problem was the relationship that I was in, and I had such a physical addiction at that point that by the time I actually did go to rehab, I had to have a medically supervised detox. So there was a lot of that. Like, it wasn't that I didn't want to get off drugs, but I was so scared of the physical aspect of detoxing that played a really big role. But I think that, you know, I came home this last time, and I don't know what changed. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was for me, but I could not tell you a single time since I've been home. And I've had some hard days. You know, I have my best friend and my ex's dates that roll around when they died or their birthdays, and those are really hard days for me. But not one time have I wanted to go get high over it. And I think to get to that point, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. But I think it's a very beautiful thing.
But you put in the work and you get the results.
Absolutely.
You're 100% an amazing result from the hard work that you put in.
I'd say so.
I agree with you. 100% agree with you. Jaden, you've impressed me. I mean, we had a lot of text conversations before you got here, and I knew a very small amount of the story, but this is my first time hearing it all the way through. You've done an amazing job. These little girls are so much better off in their life because of the mom
Thank you.
that you are and what you're going to be doing with them. And the fact that they're going to struggle one day, maybe not with this, but somewhere. And you're going to be able to tell you, I pray that never
Lord help us all.
Oh, I know. But they're going to struggle, even if it's just in school, you know, and you're going to be able to tell them, you know, I've fought so hard in my life. It's not easy, but it can be done.
It can. It absolutely can.
And you are definitely a shining example.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, okay, we're going to end this. That was awesome. Hey, for the first episode, ain't too bad. So, Jaden, thank you again for being
Absolutely.
here and sharing your story and talking with us about this. And Burleson, thank you so much for watching us, and God bless you.